Greetings, dear viewers. This is Lumination with a little special video regarding love and relationship. And I've titled it Behind the Scenes. And the reason I'm doing this little video is because something really wonderful happened recently in one of the private readings, and it brought an important subject into light. And I thought it was important to share it with all of you. Now, this is a public forum, so we're not going to be releasing any private personal data or anything. We're just going to be talking about the energies. And I think it's important to share this, what we discovered, for the benefit of anybody watching any of these love and relationship videos. It doesn't matter what month, what sign, a sun, moon, and rising, whatever it is. I'm talking about a specific dynamic that occurs inside relationships. In fact, inside love and relationship readings. That's why we're calling it Behind the Scenes. Now, if you watched the previous video about the love and relationship readings and how they're structured, how the spread is done, if you recall, it's something. I'll just doodle it, something like this. We'll keep it very simple. Okay. Bear with me, okay? Hang in. And I call it a mini crucible reading, okay? Like this is a crucible. And the crucible is a very, very strong structure, typically like a bowl type shape, which can endure and withstand intense pressure. And when we engage in a formal relationship, for example, a chosen relationship with a chosen loved one, and we create what would typically be called a marriage, then you are creating a crucible. It's by definition. And you subject yourself to all the joys and sorrows of conducting yourselves within the crucible, and you cherish the crucible. You look after the crucible and the relationship itself, as opposed to focusing all your energy on taking care of yourself and the other in a direct one-on-one synastry type relationship in terms of astrology. This would relate to a composite type relationship. Anyway, I just want to put that out there and get it out of the way before we go on to the next part. So this is how the relationship readings are normally done. In a private reading, it's more complex because we would be adding extra cards, typically here and here, going much deeper into the reading itself. But for now, for the little general reports, this is what you get. So, what's the point of this video? Well, what often happens is when people write in for their private readings, they're tempted to disclose some personal stuff, like, hi, I want to talk about this, I want to talk about that. And sometimes data and information is disclosed. And once that happens, I can't undisclose it. And so I have to proceed accordingly. And that actually puts me in kind of an awkward spot, because now my perceptions of the reading and the client are conditioned upon certain data. And honestly, this is personal. I prefer to go blind, as if we've never known each other before, even if it's a repeat reading with a repeat client. And then, or at least for the first reading with a client, and then go from there. Because then it allows for anything and everything to happen without any preconditions or pre-expectations, or being subject to the history of the relationship. In other words, we would be going blind and all opportunities and perspectives become apparent. So what happened is we had a reading, and valuable information was disclosed. And so I was obliged to move with that and go forward with it. I could not ignore it once it's there, because I'm instantly aware of some of the dynamics of the relationship and the people involved, simply because of the astrology data, for example. And so I took it upon myself to be responsible. I went through the data and pulled up information in order to fully understand what was going on a bit better. And what that does, it puts me in a situation where I can no longer conduct the reading from a crucible perspective until I have done the synastry perspective. So in the synastry perspective, I have to treat this as two separate individuals in a relationship in which the energy is conducted face on, face to face, without necessarily any energy of the crucible having been invoked deliberately through the two parties choosing each other. So let's just say, just also another thing, statistically, what I've discovered is on Terra Lumination, it's about 84% female viewers, guests, and clients, and 18, whatever it is, percent, I don't know the math, of guys, okay? And so I'm kind of cheating here. I'm just making assumptions and taking things easy. Let's just say this is for a woman seeking a reading about a guy. It could be any gender, it doesn't matter, but just let's say, in fact, forget the gender. Let's just go for person A, which would be the client, person B, which would be the query. Now, this is not a couple's reading. There's not two people here on the other side of the screen from Tarot Illumination. It's just one client. So it's their reading about their relationship with the other person, okay? Now, in this particular situation, I was given data about each person. And I broke it down in terms of the astrology. So it would look like this: Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, North Node, and little Chiron, okay, over here. So it would look like this, okay? Person A has all their like astrological identity typically loaded into what would be called the planets and the way they're structured in the chart. And a lot of times people see the chart as this circular squiggle with a bunch of, funny colored lines all over the place and squiggles and dots, just like we do on some of the astrobabble stuff. Okay. So let me mark that out again over here. And I have the same information presented for person B: Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Pluto, on the North Node, and little Chiron. Okay. And data was revealed for each party. Okay. So the data was collected and put in here. Let me just put the actual names in so we know what we're talking about a little bit better. This would be Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, the North Node, and little Chiron. Okay? Sorry, it's not all perfectly lined up here, but I think you get the drift. This is person A data, this is person B data. And with this data, I am put in a position where I have to treat everything in terms of synastry, because we did not have any birth times, so we can't formulate a true relationship reading. However, we still have plenty of data to do some preliminary homework in advance. Now, please understand that there's nothing personal is going to be revealed here. We're just talking about the energy between two parties, A and B, and we're just using a theoretical example now that's being derived from a real life situation. So there we are. Tarot Illumination is kind of in a situation where an evaluation has to occur, in order to proceed with a legitimate, honest tarot reading for the client when the time comes. So a lot of this homework had to be done in advance because we didn't want to cloud the reading too much with the astrology, because Tarot Illumination is really a tarot channel. It's not an astrology channel, although a lot of people who visit Tarot Illumination are very advanced in their tarot and astrology anyway. But for the sake of this little channel, we focus primarily on the tarot because it allows for a lot of freedom of movement and subjectivity, whereas with the astrology, we're locked into raw, hard data. So we just decided, let's just take advantage of the data and figure out what's going on. And so what happened is I do an evaluation here of this person and this person. And I look for telltale signs of a connection, a love connection, because we're talking about love and relationship. Very frequently, woman and a chosen male, okay? It could be either, it could be a guy, or it could be guy, or gay, or lesbian, whichever, but it's typically person A or B, person A seeking relationship understanding and dynamics about the relationship itself, and person B in the relationship. So, just to get on with the story, I looked and I looked and I looked and I looked for hot spots. And I kept thinking, the original data made me puzzle, like, why would these two people be together at all? It seems like a strange connection at first glance. And yet I know from experience that if someone's coming to Tarot Illumination for a reading, there's a very serious reason that they're coming for the reading. So there must be something. And so I went digging and digging and digging, looking through the data, and I found it really hard to find where the connection was. And I had to look at the degrees between each person. And to cut a long story short, we eventually discovered that person B over here has a very strong connection at 15 degrees exactly in a particular sign with person A, the client, in the same degree and the same sign. So lo and behold, bammo, we found this very profound exact connection. So I'm just going to highlight that for a moment so you can hopefully see it better. Went like this and like this. And because what happened is we discovered, now this could be any kind of connection. You can have this anywhere with this going to here or that going to there. But this was exact to the degree, and it happened to involve the planet Neptune and the North Node of the client and the planet Neptune of the other, both exactly conjunct in 15 degrees. And so instantly it became apparent that we're dealing with a very profound relationship, very much at the soul level, to do with the karmic and soul evolution and the journey forward of the North Node for the client. And this energy of evolution was being triggered by the presence of relationship, the person B, in the life of person A. So that there's no way out of it now. The whole reading, the whole tarot reading from Tarot Illumination is now subject to the awareness of this information. And I realized that, well, this is probably very deep and profound. It might be very hard to understand this or feel this on the surface if you're coming to the reading from the perspective of boy-girl, man-woman type of situation. And so I thought, well, we need to look further. There has to be stronger connections somewhere. And lo and behold, going back and forth, I kept twiddling all the information around like I do. I make doodles and charts, and I discovered that we had a collection of, let's just cherry pick a couple planets because we had several. I'm making this part up now because it's just a theoretical presentation. Okay, but there's no personal information here. We're just talking about the energy dynamics between two people. And what we discovered is that not only did person B have a direct impact on person A, lighting up with the planet Neptune, lighting up person A on their North Node journey. So that's very profound when you have an exact conjunction like that. And going deeper, because again, the relationship seemed very puzzling. Going deeper, we discovered that person A has something parallel with person B in that person B had their North Node journey lit up by person A. There was no way out of it. It was very evident but it was multiplied 3 times. In other words, the client was having a very profound impact on the North Node journey for person B. So how does that translate? Let's simplify this even further. There's a lot more going on, but I'm just trying to get to the concept about how people come into the relationship reading. Now, when a client comes into a reading, they're coming in typically about love and relationship and romance, like, boy-girl stuff, the lovey-dovey stuff. And yet, because this information was disclosed to me in advance, I discovered that it's a much different perspective. We discover in the reading that we're dealing with a very profound soul connection between two people, where person A is acting as a guide, like a massive flashlight, so to speak, heading into the unknown that helps person B evolve in their path to the unknown. And the same thing in reverse, where person B is acting like as a flashlight and a beacon for person A to evolve and grow on their North Nodal journey in life. In other words, both parties are unwittingly helping each other to evolve in their soul journey moving forward. Now, this happens to be occurring in the context of what would appear to be a love relationship. Okay, so that is often how these soul journeys occur. They occur in the context of what appears to be a love relationship, whereas in fact it is more like a spiritual journey where both parties are actually holding each other's hands like this and helping to guide each other into the darkness. I'm not going to say it's almost like the blind leading the blind, but it's almost like that. It's almost like two strangers meeting up and recognizing that they both have great value to each other in their life journey moving forward. However, that energy might be conducted in the context of what appears to be a love relationship. And so once the parties have been fulfilled their contract to each other, in other words, person A has lit up the journey for person B, and person B has lit up the journey for person A. It's almost like the contract is now complete and the parties can move on. However, the parties are often still conducting themselves as though they might be in a love relationship, and then the desire or the ability to part ways becomes stressful, because then both parties feel like, oh, I'm losing the guiding light from you and you're losing the guiding light from me. Oh no. So the idea of makeup and breakup starts to become the dominant energy in the reading. Are we supposed to be with this person or not? And so the whole idea of this little thing was to give you an example of what can actually happen behind the scenes in a reading that does not occur or does not get exposed until you're actually inside the reading and doing it for real. So I'll put this aside now. So what ends up happening is that instead of having the crucible type reading, we started off with a person A and a person B. In astrology, this would be a synastry reading, the two people relating to each other like this. However, the clients often would feel as though they're in a situation where the reading would be conducted as though it was a loving relationship, where here is the relationship, and you're conducting your affairs through the relationship. So during the reading, as we went deeper into the reading, going behind the scenes, we had to realize that it was inappropriate to read the reading purely from the love and romance perspective. Like, person A, person B, uh, coming together, being together, sharing love, intimacy, like romance and a relationship, and where's it all going? Because it would not have made any sense um, otherwise. We would have touched on the energies of the relationship. However, there's no escape. We had to deal with it from the perspective of A and B, as opposed to from the crucible. Now, when we went into the crucible type spread reading, then it brought a lot more illumination, so to speak. And one of the reasons Tarot Illumination prefers to go blind is because it allows like full exposure to occur in the reading through the cards. And if the client wishes, then we can go deeper and look back into the reasons. But this opens up a whole new door in terms of astrology, which becomes expensive and complex and takes a lot of work in advance. And so I just thought it would be interesting for all of you to understand what can happen behind the scenes in a relationship reading. And I'm not suggesting, in fact, I'm suggesting please don't write in too much personal data, especially if it's a new client. Let's go in blind, and a lot of energies and dynamics will be exposed and revealed anyway. And then if we need to later on at another time or another reading, we can get into the chart materials and so on, and we can pinpoint, exact dynamics that could justify or explain whatever was exposed in the tarot reading. Now, in this particular situation, everything was came in reverse because the data was revealed to me in advance, and so I had to go with it. And I'm just explaining like what happens behind the scenes so that you understand. From the perspective of Tarot Illumination, for a first-time reading, for a first-time client, going blind is very, very helpful. And then we can go deep as needed later on. We just figured this stuff out like right on the nose, so to speak. And so then we had to it's almost like we had to unread the reading to explain the dynamics as they were being expressed through a crucible spread. I hope that makes sense. I really hope this makes sense. And you get some kind of fuller understanding of what happens behind the scenes in a love relationship. And that if you require a love relationship to begin with, if it's a first-time client, please understand from your reader's point of view, less is more. We can start off blind, and a whole, smorgasbord of energy will be exposed, and then we can focus. So I hope that helps. I'm going to leave it at that, people. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to insert this little video into the playlist for love and relationships, just for your own fun and pleasure. You don't have to watch this to enjoy your general readings, but if you want to get a private reading, this would be a very useful little thing to watch. Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. I love having you guys. I love taking care of you. I'm trying to find out ways, gently and slowly, how to improve the service for you. Tarot Illumination, it doesn't look like it, but it's very ambitious. It's just that we're still very embryonic here right now. And I thank you for all your support and all your comments and your feedback. I know I get a couple of sometimes it happens where people it does not resonate. Like someone says, wow, you just gibbered way too much about blah, blah, blah. Or like, yeah, this is great report so long as you understand Martian. things like I can't. There's nothing much I can do. Um, and I don't take it personally because there's thousands. I've discovered there's thousands of tarot readers out there. So if tarot illumination is not working for you, there's plenty of others. If it's working for you, then hang in, stay with us, go for the long haul. Okay. So with love, uh, from Tarot Illumination, I'm going to check out now and say bye bye and thank you for visiting. Take care now. Bye.